In the mountains of 16th century Japan, there lived a samurai named Takeshi who had earned a fearsome reputation. By age 28, he had defeated countless opponents, mastered 7 styles of swordsmanship, and served 3 different lords with distinction. His technique was flawless. His speed was legendary. His confidence was absolute. One winter, Takeshi heard rumors of an aging master named Hayato who lived in a remote temple. Warriors spoke of this master in hushed tones not because of his victories, but because of his wisdom. They said Hayato could see 20 moves ahead, that he moved like water, that even in his 70s, no young warrior could touch him. Takeshi's pride was wounded by these stories. How could an old man be superior to him? He decided to visit this master and prove his superiority once and for all. When Takeshi arrived at the temple, he found Hayato tending a small garden. The old master looked up, smiled gently, and invited him for tea. As they sat, Takeshi immediately began listing his accomplishments, the battles he'd won, the techniques he'd mastered, the lords he'd served. Hayato listened patiently, then began pouring tea into Takeshi's cup. He poured and poured, even as the tea reached the brim. He continued pouring as the tea spilled over the edge, flooding the saucer, dripping onto the floor. "Master, stop," Takeshi shouted. "The cup is full. No more will go in." Hayato set down the teapot and looked directly into Takeshi's eyes. "Like this cup, you are full of your own opinions, techniques, and accomplishments. How can I show you anything new unless you first empty your cup?" In that moment, Takeshi felt something crack inside him. For the first time in years, he saw himself clearly, a warrior so convinced of his own mastery that he had stopped learning. His cup was full, and nothing new could enter. This encounter would transform Takeshi's life, but not in the way he expected. The path ahead would not make him more certain of his abilities. It would make him perpetually uncertain, perpetually open, perpetually hungry to learn. And that uncertainty would become his greatest weapon. The death of the learning spirit. There is a tragedy unfolding in every corner of the modern world, and most people don't even recognize it. Somewhere between childhood and adulthood, we undergo a spiritual death. We stop learning. Not because our brains lose capacity, but because our spirits lose openness. Watch a 2-year-old encountering stairs for the first time. They don't analyze whether they're good at climbing or worry about looking foolish. They simply try, fall, try again, fall again, and persist until they master it. Their ego doesn't interfere because they haven't yet built the fortress of identity that will later imprison them. But something happens as we age. Society begins whispering its poisonous lies into our ears. You're either naturally talented or you're not. You should have learned that when you were younger. Stay in your lane. Stick to what you know. Don't embarrass yourself by being a beginner. These messages accumulate like layers of sediment, gradually burying the learning spirit alive. By the time most people reach 30, they've constructed an elaborate identity around what they can and cannot do. They've decided who they are, and that decision becomes a prison. The warrior knows this is the first death, the death of possibility. And if you want to walk the path of infinite learning, you must be willing to die this death consciously, then resurrect yourself as something far more dangerous, an eternal beginner. Shoshin, the mind that cannot be defeated. In Japanese martial and spiritual traditions, there exists a concept that separates masters from mere practitioners. Shoshin, the beginner's mind. This is not simply an attitude or technique. It is a spiritual discipline, a way of moving through the world that transforms everything it touches. Shoshin means approaching every situation, even those you've encountered 1,000 times, with fresh eyes, open curiosity, and zero assumptions. It means training yourself to see possibilities where others see only familiar patterns. The Zen master Shunryu Suzuki captured this perfectly. In the beginner's mind there are many possibilities. In the expert's mind there are few. Think about what this means. The more expert you become, the fewer options you perceive. Your expertise becomes a set of blinders, filtering out anything that doesn't match your existing patterns. You stop seeing what's actually there and start seeing only what you expect to see. This is why established industries get disrupted by outsiders. This is why aging chess masters sometimes lose to young prodigies who play incorrectly. This is why traditional warriors fell to unconventional tactics. The expert's mind is rigid. The beginner's mind is fluid. But here's what most people misunderstand about Shoshin. It's not about being naive or ignorant. It's about cultivating a specific type of spiritual discipline, the discipline to continuously destroy your own certainties. The 3 enemies of learning. Before you can embrace Shoshin, you must identify and defeat 3 enemies that guard the gate of infinite learning. These enemies are subtle, powerful, and live inside your own mind. The first enemy, the ego of expertise. After you've invested time mastering something, your ego becomes attached to that identity. You become someone who knows, and this identity must be protected at all costs. Admitting you don't know something threatens this identity, so your ego works tirelessly to maintain the illusion of expertise. This is why doctors sometimes miss obvious diagnoses, why successful CEOs destroy their companies through arrogance, why masters lose to students. The ego of expertise blinds you to reality. The warrior confronts this enemy by practicing deliberate humility. Not false humility, that's just ego in disguise, but genuine recognition that no matter how much you know, the territory of the unknown is infinitely larger. The second enemy, the fear of appearing foolish. Somewhere in your journey from child to adult, you learn that being wrong is dangerous. Making mistakes means social judgment, loss of status, appearing incompetent. This fear becomes so deeply embedded that you stop taking risks in learning. You only try things you're already good at. You stay in your comfort zone. You'd rather appear competent at a mediocre level than risk looking foolish while reaching for mastery. This enemy is destroyed through a simple realization. Everyone who has ever mastered anything looked absolutely foolish during the learning process. The master martial artist got thrown 1,000 times. The master musician played wrong notes for years. The master craftsman produced garbage before producing art. Looking foolish is not the obstacle to mastery, it's the prerequisite. The third enemy, the addiction to certainty. Humans crave certainty. We want to know where we stand, what to expect, how things work. This craving for certainty makes us seek definitive answers, absolute truths, final destinations. But learning requires the opposite, embracing uncertainty, holding multiple possibilities simultaneously, remaining comfortable in the space of not knowing. The warrior defeats this enemy by recognizing that certainty is an illusion. The universe is far too complex, too dynamic, too mysterious to ever be fully known. The moment you think you've figured something out completely is the moment you stop seeing it clearly. True power comes not from certainty but from comfort with uncertainty, from the ability to act decisively even while remaining fundamentally open. The sacred practice. Cultivating Shoshin daily. Shoshin is not a switch you flip once. It's a discipline you practice daily, a muscle you strengthen through consistent use. Here's how warriors of learning approach this sacred practice. Morning ritual, the empty cup meditation. Begin each day by symbolically emptying your cup. Spend 5 minutes in silence contemplating this question. What do I think I know that might be wrong? Don't answer defensively. Don't protect your beliefs. Simply sit with the possibility that your certainties might be prisons. Feel the discomfort this creates. Then breathe into that discomfort until it transforms into curiosity. This practice prevents the calcification of beliefs. It keeps your mind flexible, adaptive, hungry. The beginner's questions. Train yourself to ask questions that beginners ask, even in domains where you're experienced. In any situation, practice asking, what am I not seeing? What assumptions am I making? If I knew nothing about this, what would I notice? What would someone with completely different experience see here? These questions force your brain to break its habitual patterns and form new neural pathways. They prevent expertise from becoming rigidity, deliberate incompetence. Here's a practice that separates true warriors from pretenders. Regularly place yourself in situations where you're genuinely incompetent. If you're a successful professional, take an art class where you're the worst student. If you're intellectually accomplished, learn a physical skill that humbles you. If you're physically capable, study something abstract that confuses you. The goal isn't to become competent in everything. The goal is to maintain constant contact with the feeling of being a beginner, so that feeling never becomes foreign or frightening. You're training your spirit to be comfortable with incompetence, because that comfort is what allows rapid learning. The practice of unlearning. Once per month, identify one thing you know and deliberately unlearn it. Study it from scratch as if you've never encountered it before. You'll be shocked how much you discover that your expertise had hidden from you. This practice keeps your knowledge alive rather than allowing it to ossify into dead dogma. Shuhari, the warrior's path of evolution. Shoshin doesn't exist in isolation. It's the foundation for a deeper martial and spiritual framework called Shuhari, the 3 stages of mastery that form a complete cycle of evolution. Shu, protect, obey, follow. In the first stage, you surrender completely. You find someone who has mastered what you want to learn, and you copy them exactly. You don't modify, don't innovate, don't think you know better. You protect the pure form by embodying it precisely. This requires immense humility. Your ego will scream that you should do things your own way, that the master's method doesn't suit you, that you can improve on it. Ignore that voice. It's the enemy trying to prevent your transformation. In Shu, you're not trying to express yourself. You're trying to absorb the wisdom that took someone decades to refine. You're downloading a program into your nervous system through perfect imitation. The warrior trains for years in classical kata, repeating the same movements thousands of times. The painter copies the old masters stroke by stroke. The musician plays scales exactly as written, without improvisation. This stage feels restrictive because it is. You're intentionally constraining yourself within the form so that the form can restructure you from within. Break, detach, diverge. After you've mastered the fundamental form, something shifts. You begin to understand not just the what but the why. You see the principles beneath the techniques. And once you see those principles, you can begin to adapt. In you consciously break from the master's exact method. You experiment. You test variations. You find what works specifically for your body, your mind, your situation. You're not abandoning the tradition, you're in dialogue with it. This is where most people want to start, but they can't. You cannot break rules you don't understand. You cannot improvise on a foundation you haven't built. Only works after Shu has restructured your basic patterns. The warrior who has trained 10,000 hours begins to flow rather than execute. The painter develops their own style that still honors the fundamentals. The musician improvises in ways that reveal deep understanding of music theory. Leave, separate, transcend. The final stage is the most mysterious. In you transcend the rules entirely, not because you're breaking them, but because they've become so integrated into your being that you no longer think about them. You are the practice. The practice is you. There's no separation, no conscious effort, no internal instruction manual you're consulting. You've become a living expression of the principles you once studied. The legendary samurai Miyamoto Musashi described this state. When you appreciate the power of nature, knowing the rhythm of any situation, you will be able to hit the enemy naturally and strike naturally. In Rai, your actions emerge spontaneously from deep understanding. You're no longer following the way, you are the way. But here's the paradox that completes the circle. When you reach Rai, you must return to Shoshin. True masters know they've transcended the rules in one domain while remaining absolute beginners in others. They maintain beginner's mind even within their mastery, always seeing new depths, new possibilities, new mysteries. This is the infinite loop. Shoshin enables Shuhari, and Shuhari returns you to Shoshin at a higher level. You never stop being a beginner. You become a more sophisticated beginner. Do the way that has no end. Supporting both Shoshin and Shuhari is a larger principle that gives meaning to the entire journey. Do the way or path. In Japanese martial arts, you don't study karate, you study karate do, the way of karate. Not judo, judo, the gentle way. Not kendo, kendo, the way of the sword. The do transforms technique into spiritual discipline. This matters because it completely reframes why you're learning. You're not learning to reach a destination. You're not learning to acquire something. You're learning because walking the path is itself the goal. Western culture is obsessed with arrival. We want to achieve success, reach mastery, complete our education. We're always trying to get somewhere else, to become someone else, to finally arrive at the place where we can stop striving and just be. The way of do says, there is nowhere to arrive. You are already where you need to be on the path. And the path continues forever. This isn't depressing. It's liberating. It means you never have to carry the burden of being finished. You never have to maintain a fixed achievement. You never have to defend a completed identity. You're always in motion, always growing, always discovering. The warrior doesn't train to win a final battle. The warrior trains because training is the expression of the warrior spirit. The artist doesn't create to produce a masterpiece. The artist creates because creating is how the artist exists in the world. When you embrace do, failure transforms from something to be feared into feedback to be welcomed. You're not failing to reach a destination, you're discovering what the next step looks like. Kaizen, the compound interest of the spirit. Western culture loves dramatic transformations. We want the overnight success, the revolutionary breakthrough, the dramatic before and after. This addiction to the dramatic is why most people fail to transform their lives. The Japanese principle of Kaizen, continuous improvement, offers a different path. Become 1% better every day. That's it. Not 10%. Not 50%. 1%. This seems almost insultingly small. 1% is invisible. You can't see it in the mirror. You can't feel it in your muscles. You can't measure it in your bank account. And that invisibility is precisely why it works. Humans are shockingly bad at understanding exponential growth. We think linearly. If I improve 1% per day for a year, I'll be 365% better. Wrong. You'll be 37.8 times better. Because improvement compounds. But here's what makes Kaizen a spiritual discipline rather than just a technique. You must practice it without seeing results. You must have faith in the process while the evidence remains hidden. You must maintain beginner's mind, Shoshin, while walking the path, do, without knowing where it leads. This is warrior training. This is the forge that transforms ordinary people into something extraordinary. Because when you can maintain practice without validation, when you can walk the path without seeing progress, when you can stay on the journey despite apparent stagnation, you develop a kind of invincible spirit. The math of Kaizen is simple. Improve 1% daily for a year, 37x better. Stay the same for a year, 1x the same. Decline 1% daily for a year, 0.3x worse, 97% degradation. Most people oscillate, intense effort for a few weeks, then complete abandonment. They never experience compound growth because they keep resetting to zero. The warrior practices Kaizen in all domains simultaneously: body, mind, spirit, relationships, craft. 1% in each domain, every single day, without drama, without fanfare, without needing to see results. After a decade of this practice, you're unrecognizable. Not because of any single moment of transformation, but because 10 years of compound daily improvement creates a chasm between who you were and who you become. Ikigai, the North Star of your journey. Without direction, even infinite learning becomes nameless wandering. This is where Ikigai enters your reason for being, the deep purpose that makes the journey worthwhile. Ikigai sits at the intersection of 4 elements. What you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, what you can be paid for. But finding your Ikigai requires Shoshin. You must approach yourself with beginner's mind, questioning the stories you've told yourself about who you are and what you want. Most people think they know what they want. They're wrong. What they want is usually a collection of second-hand desires absorbed from family, culture, social media, and random encounters. These borrowed desires lead to borrowed lives, people achieving things that don't actually fulfill them, climbing ladders leaning against the wrong walls. The warrior asks different questions. What would I do if no one was watching? What makes me forget to meet? What challenges do I seek out rather than avoid? What would I do for free if money wasn't a concern? These questions help strip away the borrowed desires and reveal authentic ones. But even authentic desires aren't necessarily your Ikigai. Your Ikigai must serve something beyond yourself, must contribute to others, must connect your individual journey to the larger human story. This is crucial. Your Ikigai isn't just about you. It's about the unique way you can contribute to the world. When you discover that intersection between what brings you alive and what brings life to others, you've found the source of inexhaustible motivation. With clear Ikigai, discipline transforms from forced effort into natural expression. You're not dragging yourself onto the path. You're being pulled by something magnetic, something that makes the struggle worthwhile. The warrior's contract with reality. Here's where we must confront something uncomfortable. Everything I've shared, Shoshin, Shuhari, Kaizen, Ikigai, requires you to accept a truth that most people spend their lives avoiding. You are not special. You are not cursed. You are not uniquely talented. You are not uniquely limited. You're a human being with a human nervous system that can learn virtually anything if you're willing to walk the path. Your age doesn't matter as much as you think. Your supposed natural talents and deficiencies don't matter as much as you think. Your past failures don't predict your future capacity. What matters is whether you're willing to empty your cup and begin again. And again. And again. Modern neuroscience validates what Zen masters knew centuries ago. Your brain maintains neuroplasticity, the ability to form new neural connections throughout your entire life. Studies have found that 70-year-olds who believe they can learn master new skills as quickly as 30-year-olds who doubt their abilities. The limiting factor isn't your neurons. It's your beliefs about your neurons. Dr. Carol Dweck's research on growth mindset versus fixed mindset reveals that people who believe abilities are fixed, I'm just not good at math, perform dramatically worse than people who believe abilities are developed, I haven't mastered math yet. The difference isn't biological. It's spiritual. It's whether you maintain Shoshin or close your cup. But accepting this truth is terrifying because it removes all your comfortable excuses. You can't hide behind I'm too old, I'm not talented, I missed my chance, that's just not who I am. All of those are revealed as lies you tell yourself to avoid the risk of genuine effort. The warrior's contract with reality is simple. I will stop lying to myself about my limitations. I will test my boundaries through practice rather than protect my ego through avoidance. I will empty my cup repeatedly, no matter how uncomfortable that feels. This contract is brutal because it demands total responsibility. You can't blame circumstances, genetics, timing, or luck. You can only commit to the path or refuse the path. The daily practice, a warrior's morning. Let me give you a concrete implementation. Here's how a modern warrior of learning might structure their morning to embody these principles. 5:0 a.m. The wake. Rise before the world makes demands of you. This time belongs to your becoming, not your obligations. 5 a.m. Shoshin meditation. Sit in silence. Contemplate. What certainty am I carrying that might be a prison? Feel your attachment to being right, to knowing, to being finished learning. Breathe into that attachment until it loosens. 5:15 a.m. Ikigai reminder. Read your one-sentence statement of purpose. Not goals, purpose. The deep reason you're walking this path. Let it settle into your bones. 5:20 a.m. The Kaizen hour. Choose one skill you're developing. Practice for 45 minutes. Not to achieve something today, but because today is part of the 10,000 days that lead to mastery. 1% better. Nothing more required. During this practice, maintain complete presence. When your mind wanders to results, return it to process. When ego wants to know, am I good enough yet? Return to beginner's mind. What can I learn in this moment? 5 a.m. The body. 15 minutes of physical practice. The warrior knows that mind and body are not separate. Training the body trains the spirit. This isn't about fitness, it's about embodying discipline. 6:20 a.m. Reflection. 5 minutes writing answers to 3 questions. What did I learn yesterday? What assumptions am I making today? Where am I attached to being right? 6:25 a.m. Enter the world. Now you're ready. You've reinforced the foundations. You've emptied your cup. You've walked a small section of the path. The day's demands can come, but you've already done the important work. This routine isn't rigid. Remember Shuhari, start by following this structure exactly. Shu, then adapt it to your life. How, eventually transcend the structure entirely. Right. But you must build the structure before you can transcend it. The shadow side, when Shoshin becomes spiritual bypassing. Everything powerful can be corrupted. We must address how Shoshin can be misused as an excuse for lack of commitment. Some people use beginner's mind to never actually develop expertise. They remain perpetual dabblers, always starting new things, never mastering anything, using openness to learning as cover for fear of dedication. True Shoshin isn't opposed to expertise. It's the path to genuine expertise. You maintain beginner's mind while developing deep skill. You stay curious while becoming competent. You remain humble while building mastery. The key is distinguishing between Shoshin and what I call pseudo-beginner's mind. Here's how. True Shoshin. Deep practice combined with openness. Commitment to mastery while remaining curious. Structured learning with beginner's humility. Discipline plus wonder. Pseudo-beginner's mind. Constant novelty seeking without depth. Fear of commitment disguised as openness. No structured practice, just dabbling. Chaos disguised as flexibility. The warrior commits fully to the path while maintaining openness about where the path leads. The dabbler never commits to any path while claiming to be open to all possibilities. The ultimate test, returning to zero. Here's how you know if you've truly internalized these principles. Can you return to zero? Imagine you've spent a decade mastering something. You've achieved recognition, developed expertise, built an identity around this skill. Now imagine discovering a fundamental flaw in your approach, or learning that everything you've built is about to become obsolete. Can you empty your cup and begin again? Can you release your attachment to expertise and embrace being a beginner once more? Can you do this without bitterness, without feeling like the decade was wasted? This is the ultimate test of Shoshin. The warrior who passes this test becomes truly invincible, because they can no longer be defeated by change, disruption, or unexpected challenges. Every ending becomes a new beginning. Every setback becomes an opportunity to learn. Every loss becomes a lesson. This is why the most dangerous practitioners are those who have mastered something, lost it, then rebuilt from scratch. They've proven to themselves that mastery isn't a destination but a renewable practice. They've killed their attachment to achievement and been reborn as something far more powerful, a perpetual student. Your next step. You've read this far, which means something in you recognizes the truth of these principles. But recognition isn't transformation. Reading about Shoshin doesn't give you Shoshin. Understanding Kaizen intellectually doesn't make you 1% better. You must practice. You must begin. And you must begin as a beginner, which means you'll probably do it wrong at first. Here's your immediate practice. Today, choose one thing you think you know. Empty your cup about it. Study it again as if for the first time. Notice what you discover that your expertise had hidden from you. This week, identify one skill you've always wanted to develop but thought was beyond you. Find someone who has mastered it. Begin and copy them exactly, without modification, for at least 30 days. This month, implement the warrior's morning routine. Don't modify it yet. Just do it. Track your consistency, not your results. 1% better every day. This year, write your Ikigai statement. One sentence that captures why you're walking this path. Let it evolve, but keep refining it until it resonates in your bones. The path of infinite learning isn't complicated, but it is difficult, because it requires you to continuously die to who you were and be reborn as who you're becoming. Most people prefer the comfort of stagnation to the discomfort of transformation. They'd rather remain certain and limited than become uncertain and limitless. But you're reading this, which means you're not most people. Something in you hungers for more, not more achievement, but more aliveness, more growth, more discovery, more becoming. That hunger is your ally. Feed it through practice. The path is waiting, and the path has no end. Empty your cup. Begin again. Welcome to the way of infinite learning.